let's go straight in. What was your number one game that you saw/played?
My number one game was Black Myth Wukong. So this game was announced a couple of years ago. It's by a Chinese developer called Game Science, and it is essentially a Souls-like kind of game based on Journey to the West, which is a classical Chinese novel.
Got a hole in my t-shirt already. Wow. Sorry, yeah, anyway.
I am shocked and appalled. Gamescom.
Well, the quality. Anyway, yeah,
Terrible
sorry,
quality.
we're Black Myth Wukong.
Oh. So it was announced a couple of years ago, and we haven't seen a huge amount about it. It's just every year they have shown a new trailer with a little bit of, a little bit more gameplay, and it looks incredible. You're playing as this monkey with a bow staff, these incredible looking bosses, most of which are anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah, I think they all were.
Like wolves and monkeys and insects and
Is it caterpillar?
Centipede.
Tiger.
So it's always looked really, really cool in trailers. And there was a new trailer for it at Opening Night Live, which I guess we should say starts off Gamescom. So that's Tuesday night. Jeff Keighley hosts it. Opening Night Live, they show off some new games, most of which are then at Gamescom. And this was one of them. And in the run-up to Gamescom, like, no one has played this game before, apart from IGN, who got an exclusive on Monday last week. No one else has been able to play it. We didn't know it was going to be at Gamescom, but then it was at Opening Night Live, and then it turns out at Gamescom there was a big stall for it in the public area, but nothing in the business area. So no one had an appointment. No one was able to go and play it as a press, as press or media. And I saw it and was like, I have to play that. I've seen the trailers. I know I want to play that.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I play this weekend, it has to be that.
So you went over?
So I went over and I tried to, play the press card. This was at the end of the day on Wednesday, which was a press day or media day anyway.
Yeah, there's no public in on a Wednesday.
And I thought maybe at the end of the day, it might be a bit quieter. And so I go to the back and the queue is closed. And they're like, yeah, it's a 3-hour wait. And this is at like 5. So like, you're just not going to get in. And I tried to, flash my badge and say, look, I'm here as press. Is there, any opportunities for press? And they're like, no, it's public only. So there's nothing you can do.
There's no PR, is there?
No, exactly. I think they just brought it over for the public to play it, and that was that. So there was no way of playing it apart from to queue up with the public. And I thought, look, I'm chock full of meetings. I have no time to do this. I don't know when I'm going to get to play it. So we decided, right, this was Wednesday. So on Thursday, we decided, right, we're going to get up super early Thursday, and we're just going to go straight in and just join the queue. And I had a meeting at 10, and I think the earliest I could get in was 9. The demo's half an hour. So it was like, as long as the queue isn't more than half an hour at that point, let's just do it and play it. We actually got there about 8:40, and that's when you went in first, and I had to wait.
Yep, I was like, okay, fine, I'll go in. Because we were going to go even earlier, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we had breakfast and whatever. Yep. So anyway, he let me through. We ran to the queue. They hadn't opened it yet, but there was a queue already.
Yeah, that's how
we
popular
basically
it was.
got, I think, maybe the last 2 PCs. 'Cause it was all on PC.
Yeah.
I think we got the last 2 places in PC in that first section that went round.
Yeah.
From the queue. So we got to play it and finally got to play it before anyone else. So I very quickly wrote up a preview, which you can go and read in Eurogamer.
But you don't want to. You want to hear about it here.
Of course. But also go and read that later.
Yeah.
I figured a lot of other journalists would be too busy or wouldn't want to queue. So I was like, right, I'm going to make the effort to go and play it. And I'm so glad I did. I can't stop thinking about that game. The demo was half an hour. It was 4 bosses that you just selected from a menu.
Yeah.
And you got a stamp for each one that you collected. So that's the other thing, is that people wanted to queue again to get 4 stamps, and then you got some extra merch or something. So
I think it was badges for your cap.
Yes.
Because they gave you a cap.
They gave you a cap, and then you got badges to like sew onto your cap. So it was basically just 4 bosses. That's all it was. So in terms of how much of a Souls-like is this game, we still don't really know, because in terms of exploration between bosses, does it have that typical maze-like folding back on itself structure? What currency do you collect? Do you lose it when you die? How do you level up? How do you customize your character? All those sorts of things that are very typical of Souls games. We still don't really know. But we do know what combat's like. We do know what the bosses are like. And it's fucking cool. So I got to see 3 of the bosses. I think you did 2.
Yes, I only saw, there were 4 and I did 2. I completed the first one. First one, which was the centipede. Not caterpillar, this giant centipede.
It's like an underground
Poisonous.
area, sort of skeletons and skulls, and you drop down into this arena and there's this huge pile of bones.
Yeah.
And when you walk up to it, this centipede kind of bursts out of it and starts chasing you.
I've noticed those 2 bosses I found, they love to do like an attack immediately. So you can immediately lose half your health within, if you're not like, you haven't got your wits about you and you're not expecting it. They don't stalk you to start with. Well, those 2 didn't. But yeah, so do you want to talk about like before going to that, do you want to talk about like the different leveling that you can do in it? Like the different skill switching, which I don't think you did though, did you?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't do that because each boss, they gave you a slightly different loadout. So the way combat works, you're playing as this monkey. He has a bow staff, but there are 3 different stances, which is effectively sort of where he's holding it.
Yeah, similar to Neo.
Similar to Neo. I actually can't... Hang on. Oh, no, I didn't... No. I did write them down. I made notes on my phone. Let me double check.
So yeah, you've got the 3 different stances, but you go to these shrines, and at the shrine you can rest, obviously.
I didn't write them down.
Okay.
That was silly. So 3 stances. There's one that is like a sort of... He like crawls to the top of the pole and like perches on it and then slams down. Okay. There's one that's like thrusting. So I guess you're holding the pole at the bottom and sort of poking away, which I particularly enjoyed, poking bosses from a distance.
I bet.
And then there was another one that was sort of holding it in the middle, I guess, that was more of a sort of powerful attacks.
Yeah.
And you switch between the different stances, but the monkey also has magic abilities. And each boss, they gave you different magic abilities to test them out.
Yeah.
But then, as you found out, there's the shrines that, or sort of incense shrines.
Yeah.
Which is where you check, essentially like a bonfire, I presume. It's like a checkpoint, and you can change your loadout, which you did.
Yeah, I did. Did I level up? I don't think I saw a level up button option because I'm kind of confusing it with another game that we played. But yeah, I switched out a couple of them. But some of the ones that were there were actually really good. The ones that were like default seemed to be great. However, there was one. So there seems to be like a defensive one, an attack one, and then like a super one.
Is in magic abilities.
Yeah, magic abilities. So the defensive one was like a shield that if they hit you when you've got the shield activated, it kind of stuns it, which was really useful.
Was that the stone one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a really useful one, but you had to use it when you were about to be hit.
I'll tell you about that in a minute. Yes.
Which I guess you didn't.
No, but I know what that ability is from something else.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's similar to one in. Well, actually, no, it's not Final Fantasy 14, but there's a few where you have to kind of use it when you're about to be hit. But yeah, you can choose, and there's some where you freeze you freeze the enemy immobilize, you freeze them in place. And then there's one where there was like a circle of fire that you put in the ground, so whenever it comes over to you, it takes damage, I believe. I didn't really use that.
I didn't either. My favorite one was, my 2 favorite ones that I actually don't think you use necessarily. There was one called Cloud Step that was like a last minute dodge, but sort of in smoke. And then it had like a follow-up attack that was really powerful. So that was like a really cool extra dodge, which was useful. And then there was one called Red Mist that transforms you into a different character. And you become this like wolf master with fire attacks.
I feel that Red Mist one is one that maybe is a permanent... I don't know, it feels like it was so powerful. It was like becoming a different thing.
Well, I think there are story reasons for it that we don't know about.
Yeah.
So I think there are various magic abilities where you transform into a different character.
Yeah.
Of which that's one of them.
And my other one, oh my God, what was I going to say? Yeah, there's another one where you could dodge, but you leave like a mirror image of yourself there, so that all the, that takes all the heat. Yeah, decoy, pretty much, from like in Apex Legends. So you leave the decoy because one of the reasons why I brought up this before we start talking about the centipede was that halfway through they just swarm these poisonous like little mini centipedes coming towards you, and I like on the 3rd go I'm like, these are just annihilating me. I can't dodge them. I can't. So I went and switched to that one and thought, I wonder if I save that spell, because you don't want to be using your spells all the time because you can't.
They're on a cooldown.
They are, and some of them are on a big cooldown. And they don't reset when you like lose in a boss or if you beat a boss or whatever, like they're permanent. Like, it's a 2-minute, 3-minute cooldown sometimes for big ones, and they'll be there even if you die. Like the red mist thing.
I did not notice that, but okay.
Well, the red mist thing, when I died, I went and came back to the shrine, and it was still cooling down, which was a bit annoying, especially when I had like 3 minutes left of the demo, and I'm like, damn it, I need to have that back because I can defeat it then. But yeah, so they were all swarming, and I thought, okay, I'll use the decoy, and I used the decoy, and managed, and all of those enemies plus the main centipede, all the poisonous centipedes, little ones, and the big one, just went for my decoy. And I was able to just kind of quickly dodge the ones that were moving, and then wait for them all to just kind of, have their attack spent on the decoy, and then I could go back. But the thing is, it glitched.
I just ran away.
It glitched then. But then the game glitched, because that was halfway through, and then the centipede, the main one, just stood there while I attacked it and got it down to 0 health. Just literally did not damage me at all.
Yeah.
So I was quite happy with that.
Yeah. So the centipede was poisonous. It had sort of claw attacks. It also had a rolling attack, which reminded me of that like dragon boss in 16.
Oh, it reminded me of a
Final
Fantasy 14 boss, where you're in the sunken temple of Kwan, and it just kind of comes straight at you and then hits the wall and then goes off in the other direction. But yeah,
sure. So yeah, you have to roll precisely basically to get out of the way of that. And I think dodging is quite a sort of key mechanic in this game. As with all Souls games, you have your stamina meter, which you use up when you dodge or when you attack. So you've got to manage that. But it felt quite generous in terms of dodging and movement. So I feel like it's a game that is very much about dodging and movement and being. I mean, you're a monkey. You want to be acrobatic.
Yeah.
It's not there to like shield or I think there is a parry, but I didn't use it. So you're not there to shield, it's there to move and dodge and move around.
Only
bosses.
That spell that I have. You said there was it's used from somewhere else, that shield.
Well, the third boss, which I got to, which was my favorite one, was this tiger. And the tiger uses that ability. And from what I understand in the game, when you defeat the tiger, that's when you get that ability.
Oh, so these spells you might get from defeating the bosses.
Yes.
Ooh, I like that. I wonder if that's going to be like their version of leveling up. Maybe there isn't any leveling up and you just gain things from beating bosses. That could be interesting. Isn't that... Did Sekiro do similar?
No.
Maybe not like gaining that, but they didn't level up, did they?
Not quite. So the centipede was the first boss. The second one was this sort of snowy area on top of a mountain, and the boss was a monkey, with another monkey.
It was, and So one thing I love about the bosses in this, they don't feel unachievable even from the first attack, like even from the first time you face it. So I was playing, like I played Dark Souls boss, and there's another, actually no, it was a different thing. But I was playing, whenever I play Dark Souls boss or an Elder Ring boss, something like the first time I might get it down to, if I'm lucky, like 3/4 of its health is left. Sometimes it's like I get like 2 hits before it's murdered me, and I'm like, okay, I need to learn these patterns.
Yeah.
Whereas that, it felt a little bit more generous. Like both bosses that I faced, the first time I faced them, I got them down to half health easily. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is achievable. And yeah, the first boss, I know it glitched halfway through when I faced it, but that was like the 3rd or the 4th try. And then the monkey boss, I was trying so many different things each time. And the 3rd time I faced, so the first time I actually got it to really low. Second time I got it to like 1 hit away. And also I wasn't quite sure of the phase, like the other monkey phase that it turns into, because I didn't realize that when you die as that, monkey phase, it reverts you just straight back to your original. Whereas I thought, I'm like, oh, if I die as this monkey, is that me dead? So I was like,
what monkey? What?
Well, you become the red mist. We'll call it red mist.
It's a wolf.
What?
The red mist.
Do you become a wolf?
You become a wolf.
I can't remember. It was very early in the morning.
Yes.
So as the wolf, I didn't realize that when my health goes to 0 as a wolf, you revert back to the monkey. So my health was going really far down. So I was looking for a moment to kind of pause and like force it to reset back to the monkey. And yeah, I ended up dying. But if I'd realized, I'd have beaten that. But the 3rd time I faced it, I destroyed it. Like I was melting it with all the attacks because I had everything ready. All of my cooldowns were there. And yeah, I pretty much melted it. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared. And then went off to a different area in the temple, like a more central area, where I had like a phase 2 and it had gained back to 50% health and was really, really aggressive and...
Secret second phase.
Exactly, I was about to say, because you didn't have that.
Well, no, I took my time. Um,
Chipping away.
yeah, just poking away.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that thrust move I think was the best stance, because when it's poised to attack you, you just thrust and it goes "Meh," and falls back on the ground. You can get a couple more hits in. So it's this monkey, and like just the way that it moved and you moved, the snow is dynamically moving around you and being thrown up, and it's got all these ice attacks. And I forgot about magic until like 2/3 down. Then was like, oh, I used the red mist. Then was like, oh wait, fire against snow. Of course, that's going to go well, and ended up killing it quite easily that time. But yeah, that it was a really, really cool boss.
Interesting seeing that, like, yeah, if you melt the boss, if you are too strong, it will like activate a second phase.
Yeah,
I thought that was really.
that's
Has that
also-
happened before in others?
not that I can think of, but I think that's a nice way of maintaining the challenge of this game. I mean, you've said that like they felt achievable. I think you and I generally like. I mean, I've maybe played more Souls games than you.
I am
but-
terrible at games. You are very good at games.
No, that's not what I mean. But we both play a lot of games. We've both played Souls games. For me, it felt like it was just a nice level of challenge. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
wow, these are impossible, but it wasn't easy. I felt like these were achievable bosses that
Yeah.
with a few goes, you could absolutely do it. And
If
they
I'm
were
saying-
fun to try.
If I'm saying they're achievable, then they are achievable.
Yeah. So
But I wonder how many of the bosses there are, because they will. Yeah, if they're only like 2 or 3 tries each time, does that mean there are like 50 of them? Who knows? Like,
well, who
are they
knows?
smaller bosses? Are there going to be some massive, massive ones that, you know, take a long time, and these are just kind of minor sub bosses? Probably.
I think these are probably quite fairly major because they were named. So they're not mini bosses. They're named bosses, and they might be more difficult in the final game.
Yeah.
The loadout they give you, like I said, I had that stone skin spell,
Yeah.
but you technically won't get that until you've defeated the tiger.
Yeah, I
so they
wonder-
probably gave you a loadout from later in the game to make it easier.
Yeah. So
it'll
maybe
be more
actually,
difficult in the
yeah,
final
maybe we do
game.
play it, and it's like, oh, this
Yeah.
is really difficult.
So that was the first 2 bosses. The third one was then this tiger, and it was in the Crouching Tiger Temple, and you climb up these steps and into this temple, and there's dead bodies and blood everywhere, and then you enter, and the tiger is kind of poised in front of this pool of what you think is water, and then you realize no, it's a pool of blood, and it's like lapping away like a cat at this pool of blood. And just honestly, so it's made in Unreal Engine 5, which is the latest Unreal Engine. So graphically as well, this game looks incredible. And just the fur texture on this tiger and the way the blood was dripping off it, which sounds gross, but just the detail on it was incredible. And the tiger sort of mocks you for being a monkey. And then you battle in this pool of blood. And again, the water is moving dynamically as you're circling each other. And it's so fluid and acrobatic and smooth. And the controls are really responsive. Like, it feels so good to play this game. The combat is amazing. It looks incredible. And like I said, it's the Chinese developer. It's based on a Chinese novel. So it feels very sort of Chinese fantasy, folklore, wuxia kind of vibes. Like, it's just so fucking cool. And hearing about your experience playing it and the way that you changed the loadout, I'm now like, oh, what if I'd use that spell? And I'm still thinking about it and still thinking I want to do these bosses.
I want the demo to come out.
These bosses are so dramatic as well. Just the build up to them. It's not just, you know, here's a you know, in a Dark Souls game, you can see here's a massive arena. Okay, there's going to be a boss. Fine, it's kind of a bit obvious. This felt like there was a really nice setup, and it felt really dramatic, and I really enjoyed that. It was just so intense. There was then a 4th boss that neither of us got to.
But apparently that was...
Well, I heard that one was easier, but it said underneath that the length of that was longer because I think there was slightly more of the level before it, so we wouldn't have had time to play it. But I am desperate to play more of this game. We'll get onto it. We've played some other Souls-likes over Gamescom. But for me, Black Myth Wukong was the best Souls-like I played, and it's the best game that I played. I think it's out next year, so it's still a way off, but I cannot wait to play more of it.
Yeah, same. And yeah, it feels like one that I would actually really get into. Whereas Dark Souls games, I've kind of dropped off a little bit. Elden Ring was definitely the most approachable for me. I don't know, but then now I've put it down for a while. I don't think I'll be able to get back into it. We'll see. But
You
yeah,
should.
this one, very, very, it didn't take long for me to kind of pick up the controls.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, yeah, that was Black Myth Wukong and is out next year.
At some point. I'm not even sure what console. I mean, we played it on PC, So
Yeah.
we'll find out soon.
Who knows?